Welcome back to another episode of Square State Sandlot. I'm Kyle Gilmore. I got Bill Montoya here with me as always. We have a lot to discuss. Mostly, well, I would say most of it is rooted around the 53-man roster cut today at 4 p.m. or later if you're the Raiders for Bill. Takes a bit for it to come out official, but before we start diving into some of the going-ons, I just wanted to announce that we are having our first official Square State Sandlot Fantasy League. We've just filled up today. I'm pretty excited about kicking that off. That's going to be something we're going to do yearly. And I have a little bit of a surprise for those playing. Bill knows about it, but we'll announce that when I can actually show it on camera. But
I was going to say, are you going to show it? But no, okay.
It's not here yet. And I mean, I could share screen, but I'll just wait till I have it in hand. But
beautiful.
The draft will be on September 5th, and Bill and I will be having a live a feed of the draft, I guess, and that'll be at 3 p.m. So anybody listening in, check us out.
Share my screen so you guys can see the draft picks as they happen. See if anything surprising happens. But I did want to mention you got a few new pieces behind you, so that's pretty cool.
Oh, yeah. I'm slowly getting everything up.
I'm still slowly not.
It's a horrible hobby to get into. That's all I'm
It is.
saying.
No, I have the stuff, and I bought the shelves already and everything, but my wife and I are talking about getting a like a weight or a squat rack and everything. And so that may go in my office or it may go in the garage. So until we've decided where that's going, I'm not hanging.
That's a big part of it.
All right. So like you said, 3 p.m. We'll have a live event, probably go live a couple minutes before so you can see, who gets picked first and all that. Anyone that wants to jump in, we'll throw up the link. So might have quite a few people on. We'll see what happens with that. But yeah, we'll have that live event. And then coming up soon-ish, we'll also have our predictions for the season coming out. It's just NFL starts to eat up all the show. Yep. But I think it's one of those happy times of the year where you got baseball going, you got basketball is going to be starting up soon. You got college football
in October.
Hockey, NFL, and
it's the best time of year.
Summer's still trying to hold on. Those days are a little warm still, but at night it's starting to get a little bit cooler. So it's definitely starting to be football time. So with that being said,
football,
we've got some little depressing news to talk about. Our Wyoming Cowboys. I am sporting a hat, although after that performance, I don't know if I should be. What did you think about the game?
Unfortunately, I don't know why I got so frustrated with it. It's exactly what we've talked about in the off season. You'd think I would be more prepared for it. With that being said, we're playing Illinois, who is a better team. We know that going in. But I think what made it hard for me to watch is the DNA of that team is almost exactly what we attempt to do. And to see them do it efficiently while we, are floundering was a little frustrating. The ground and pound approach, I am not anti-ground and pound. I think if you do it well, it works. The problem is we have no control at the line of scrimmage. That Illinois offensive line and defensive line they controlled it all day long. And honestly, outside of Titus Swin, there was not that much to be excited about on the offensive side.
No. We've coined the phrase the bull offense, and that's what they did. It seemed like he got really scared to call passes after the first quarter. At the beginning, and to be fair, they weren't having success in the passing game, but it seemed like after a couple incompletions, he really went away from throwing the ball, except after first and second down. If the run didn't work, well, then we're in a throwing situation where we have to. And Peasley, there's no way around it. He did not look good at all. I think he was around 20% completion. 30 yards total in the
He
passing
never
game.
looked comfortable the entire
No,
game.
and
And yes, he had pressure, but
kind of to my point.
he never looked comfy.
If you're only giving him passes in throwing situations and that's it, I mean the defense knows what you're trying to do, and it's tough to complete
And you have
passes.
no rhythm.
Yeah, and yeah, that's it.
Terrible.
I mean, honestly, there was plenty of throws where he was completely behind, threw it way too late, where the only person in position to make the play was the defense. So he's got some things to clean up for sure, but you have to allow a kid to get into rhythm before you can give a true analysis of what's going on in their passing game. And I mean, he was 2 for 10 at halftime with, I think, 18 yards and an interception, something like that. So
It wasn't pretty.
it was brutal. And Titus, like you said, played very well. Offensive line looked decent until they got into those predictable situations where they could pin their ears back. So all in all, offense looked bad. Defense was not tackling anyone. So even when they were in position, I mean, it seemed like they were just running straight through their tackles. I don't think Illinois is that much better of a team than Wyoming is. I just think
they're just more efficient.
Well, more efficient, but I also think that Wyoming kind of got surprised and never really recovered. And like I said, when you go into hiding with the passing game and all they have to do is stack the box, I mean, you're not going to get past.
Especially when you're behind. If you're not willing to pass, it's hard to come back.
Yep.
The only silver lining for me is that I hope it becomes clearer and clearer that either Bull needs to adjust his game plan or he needs to be shown the door.
Yep.
I think this season is going to be pretty rough on everybody. The team, the fans. I'm not looking forward to it.
Well, we were very much looking forward to it until this showing. And it's one game. You hate to overreact, especially when it's the first game of the season.
Sure.
So I don't want to write them off just yet. But yeah, I mean, if they cannot play better against even competition, which, like I said, I still don't think Illinois is a great team. They're definitely towards the bottom of their conference. But if we want to play against the San Diego States, the Boise States, Boise not a state.
Got to play better than that.
Got to play better than that.
Boise not a state.
So yeah, no, it was frustrating, and I don't think there's any way around it. But I still think there is room for improvement. And the only bad thing is, I think what's most likely to happen, because Bull's under contract for, I think, 3 more seasons after this one, maybe 2. I can't remember exactly. I think it's through 2024. I think the more likely thing would happen is he and the university work on some kind of deal where he steps down and then his son maybe gets the reins, which his son was featured on ESPN as top 30 under 30.
Right.
So maybe getting some youth in there and seeing, running a 1960s style offense isn't the answer in 2022. But I don't know. I think that's the only way that he'll be fired or let go after the season is if he voluntarily steps down and maybe they work out a deal.
I agree with you there. I think the contract is going to make it obviously harder to separate ties, but I don't know. 3 more seasons of that just sounds
not
rough.
Ideal. Yeah. I mean, we're 9 seasons into his rebuild of the program. And I mean, even having the runner-up NFL MVP on his offense, he still made look pedestrian. So it's frustrating. Hold on, Pokes fans. I think brighter days are to come. Like I said, it's one game. Don't throw away the whole season. Still show up, support the boys, and hopefully we have a turnaround. Anything else you wanted to talk about with Wyoming before we move on?
Not with Wyoming college football. It's a game I'm really excited to watch. Pitt's playing West Virginia for the yearly backyard brawl. That's going to be Thursday night. Pitt's entering the season ranked 17th. We'll see. I think preseason rankings are a waste of time anyways, but I'm just really curious to see how they do. Slovis at quarterback, because obviously Kenny Pickett went to the NFL, and then Jordan Addison hit the transfer portal to USC, which is basically the two top offensive weapons for that Pitt Panthers team. So I'm interested to see what kind of a team they put on the field. So fun little game Thursday night.
Yeah, no, I love seeing, especially the week one matchups, because they're so unpredictable. You don't know what you're going to see from either team. So that's exciting. I guess I should have mentioned that Wyoming went from 1.5 point dogs to 6.5 point dogs in the Tulsa game at home after week one. So interested to see how they do in that game. That game's coming up Saturday. So hopefully a better showing. Like you said, Pittsburgh, we'll see what they have after losing their top two offensive weapons. Anything? Oh, I did want to mention also that we have the Utah and Florida game. Utah's they're ranked number 7 in preseason rankings. Highest ranking ever for them in the Pac-12. Interested to see how they do this season. I mean, I'm not a huge Utes fan or anything, but if I had to pick a Utah team, that would be my team to root for. So we'll see how they do. A lot of exciting matchups this upcoming weekend. So
the one thing I do want to say, because I mean, you do pay attention to Utah a little bit. Some of it's proximity, some of it's, why not? But it's fun watching Utah because especially on the defensive side of the ball, there's a lot of players that end up in the NFL. So if you're paying attention to Utah games, I mean, it's fun seeing a player coming into the NFL, or say they're 5 seasons into their career, but you've watched them for, 7, 8, 9 years. There's been some really good talent to come out of Utah. So,
for sure.
I mean, if you just enjoy watching sports just because you're a UW fan, doesn't mean you can't check out some Utes games.
Yeah, no, they're fun to watch, and obviously they used to match up quite a bit with Wyoming when they were back in the Mountain West Conference. So a little bit of a rivalry there, but yeah, they have a quarterback, Cam Rising, that ended up taking over that job after I think it was week 2 last year, and he got them in contention, took them to the Rose Bowl, played some really tough competition. So they're an exciting team, and it's one of those hopeful things where you're looking at a possible team to go up against the Alabamas and the SEC that seems to have a stranglehold.
That's it for me, man.
Playoff. So
anybody who will bump the regular 4, I'm all for.
So hopefully they have a great season and they can cause some disruption in that Power 5 stranglehold the SEC has on the playoffs there. But moving on from that, just got a couple notes in the Major League Baseball realm, and that is Artie Moreno, the owner of the Angels, has said after his 20 years of owning the team, he's exploring a sell. He bought the team for originally like $110 million, and now it's worth over 2. So pretty good return on investment there. This is interesting for me, especially the timing. It seems like Artie has always done things half, where if he's investing in the roster, then he's pulling back on the team employees and things like that. He's never had a great scouting department. And it seems like they always throw money at free agent offensive weapons when they always need pitching. So
pitchers.
His ownership has been, I'm sure Angels fans, I mean, they got the 2006 championship, so they're probably thankful for that. But outside of that, it's been just a lot of mediocrity. So throwing that much money into a roster and not having success, that at least he's willing to put the money out there. But like I said, it seems like he's always halfway in. So I think
the frustrating thing, I was just going to say, the frustrating thing is the talent that they have on the other side.
Yep.
I mean, how do you resist the temptation to bring in pitchers?
Yep.
And I don't know. It's just crazy. I guess dollars mean more a lot of the times, but.
Well, and it's crazy how many of those big contracts he's given out that have come back and bit them. Like the Pujols contract, better or worse, Pujols did not play well in Anaheim. A lot of it was injuries, but I mean, they paid him the world. They gave Josh Hamilton a lot of money, but then kind of just when he was on Texas, he had a guy that was there with him to make sure he was making the right decisions and everything. When he went to Anaheim, they essentially gave him all that money and just said, "Yeah, like we just want you to play
Hey, wow.
baseball." Didn't give him any assistance or anything like that. The Anthony Rendon contract, just from this last or 2 off seasons ago, that's looking like another one of those absolutely terrible contracts. Rendon's a great player, don't get me wrong, but the
Yeah.
contract they gave him, and then he's only played like 60 games total in 2 seasons. So it's looking real bad. No one's going to be willing to pick that up. So um, yeah, I think his ownership will always be known for having two generational talents and not being able to win, and that is Mike Trout and now Shohei Ohtani, which I think is very likely to leave by the time this sale is done and everything. So
Yeah.
that's going to affect the sales price. I think is the unknown commodity of Shohei, just because he's free to leave after next season. So interesting to
And
see what happens with that. And I mean, Angels struggling is always a good thing for my A's. So if they get a new owner like a Steve Cohen, I'm not looking forward to that. That's willing to put the
yeah.
staff and everything in place to have a winning organization. So, but you have some notes on your Pirates. What's going on with them?
Yesterday, we're middle of a series we're actually playing right now. Series against the Brewers. Oh man, this team can frustrate you. We were down 3-0, came roaring back, went up 5-0 after O'Neill Cruz 3-run homer, and then Rodolfo Castro hit a homer as well. Um, it it looked like we were going to finish that game, and then we brought in Will Crow to close out the game, and he gave up too late, went to the 10th inning, and lost 7-5. So it's frustrating when your team rallies back. Our pitching to start the game, Roansy Contreras is amazing. He's playing really well. He's starting to show a lot more stuff. Longer innings, less balls, less walks. So he's coming along. I think he is probably going to be the foundation of our pitching staff in the future. But with that being said, Mitch Keller, he started the game pretty good today. Last time I checked, we were down 2-1, but he's playing pretty well. And then the last little tidbit for him, Jack Swinsky. Anybody who's listened, I'm a big fanboy, but he got sent back down to the minors. Went on a 0-29 run before he went down. So I definitely agree with them sending him down. I wish they would have brought him back up a little sooner, but he got a hit in last night's game, and he's playing outfield pretty well. So it's good to see him back up. Obviously, the remainder of our season is, it's not about the win column. We're obviously not going to the playoffs. So it's good to see these guys up here. I'm about over seeing these veterans play, the ones that we know won't be with us next year. So yeah, that's where we're at. Just watching the young guys play.
Yeah, and that's kind of, I've seen a lot of articles the last couple of days, especially one from John Heyman about my Oakland A's, and he basically said that they are the worst franchise in all of baseball because they, after the trade deadlines and cutting all their players and everything, their total salary right now is 25 million on the active roster,
Yeah.
so lowest in the majors. Coliseum is by all means basically a stadium on its way out. Essentially, they're not making major repairs or anything like that. They're not throwing any money in it. So he's saying, the owner's a joke, the stadium's a joke, and the team they're putting out there is a joke. So pretty brutal words, but tough to dispute the on-field stuff. Obviously, it has not been a good season this year. Lately, we've seen some sparks from some of our younger players that we've expected to see something from. Sean Murphy has been an all-star the second half of the season for sure. He's crushing the ball. He actually just did a grand slam a couple innings ago in this game against the Washington Nationals. So I think there's plenty to look forward to, but at the end of the day, the main thing that matters is figuring out that stadium, because at that point, once we have the new stadium, if the owners still won't put money in the roster, I mean, I think that's the end of our franchise until someone sells it. Because if he's still not willing to invest in the roster after putting, $1 billion into a stadium, he's never going to spend money. So I think his end game is
Great.
going to be build that stadium and then sell the team for the maximum value he can see. So,
Well, for your guys' sake, I mean, you hate to see him make so much money off of it, but for the sake of the fans and obviously the product on the field, I hope that's what happens.
for sure.
Everyone could use a fresh start, I think.
Yeah, I mean, and we've talked about this. I don't want to put money into going and seeing games in Oakland right now because that directly benefits the owner. Um,
Yeah.
so we've talked about going to Pittsburgh next season, or earlier this season I was talking about going to Seattle. That trip kind of fell apart just because of things going on. But obviously, owners get some of the money from road games as well, but not as much as they would from the home game. So it's, yeah, frustrating for me, frustrating for all the A's fans seeing all these moves. But couple things I wanted to mention. I can't find the guy's name right now because this news was announced 2 days ago. But they're calling up one of the two pitching prospects, one of the starters they got from the Yankees. Sears has already been up and pitching. The other one, like I said, his name's slipping me right now, but they're calling him up on Thursday when the rosters expand to 28.
Right.
Adrian Martinez is going to go down to the bullpen, and this guy will get some runs through the rotation, probably 3 or 4
Good.
turns. So excited to see that. I'm sure you guys will have a couple guys coming up when rosters expand
Definitely.
as well. So something to look forward to, I guess. And then you had a couple notes in here about.
Yeah, it's just a few. I mean, I guess technically some of it's history, some of it's potential history, whatever. But just Aaron Judge just hit his 50th homer. He's on pace to actually beat Maris, so we'll see where that lines up. I don't know. A lot can happen between now and the end of the season, but still impressive with how many dingers he's hitting. And for all appearances, he seems like a pretty classy fella, so good for him. Albert Pujols hit a homer off his 450th pitcher, which beat the record by Barry Bonds, who was 449, which that's wild, man.
Yeah.
That's just crazy. It's such a wild number for me to even process, but I mean, good for him. This is his swan song by all indications. So for him
he's
to
gonna play
put
one
up
more.
something, you think so? What if he hits? What if he gets those homers?
So yeah, he's going for 700. He's at 694 right now, but he's also really close to the RBI record, and I think that's the one he's really going for. So I think
he might put another season on.
I think he might go 1, maybe even 2, depending on how well he finishes out this season. And I mean, he's been on a tear lately. It didn't look like 700 was going to be within reach this season, but the tear that he's been on lately, he's, like you said, I think he's at 694, so he's 6 away from hitting that 700 number.
I'm just trying to imagine 2 years from now him, like, and I don't mean this as an insult, only comical, but like literally just a walker out to home plate. Like, that boy has played a long time.
He has, but I think with the load management he's had over the last 2 seasons, I think he can do it, especially with the designated hitter now in the National League.
Oh, yeah.
I think Seattle, St. Louis, I think they'll bring him back as long as he wants to be. And I think he's the third most effective hitter against lefties right now in all of the majors. So he can still do it, especially in those pinch hits opportunities, or if they're going up against the lefty that day. I mean, you could slot him in there.
Throw him in, for sure.
He can't run. He can't play defense anymore, but don't need to do that if he can mash.
And that's it. I mean, and I guess just props to Aaron Judge and him, both hitting pretty special marks.
Yep.
I mean, even if Judge doesn't obviously match or beat Maris's spot or mark, but it's still an impressive season. 50 homers is nothing
Yep.
to, it's pretty impressive. And yeah, the Yankees kind of came down to earth a little bit. They were on a hell of a run, which I mean, I liked seeing that slow down a little bit, but
Yeah. Well, and
um,
my A's took
he hasn't.
split the series, 4-game series
I
with them over the
know.
last weekend. Let me ask you a question. What's more likely in your eyes? Judge hitting 12 more, which would put him at 62, which is one above Maris, and that would be Yankees and American League record all time.
Right.
Or Pujols hitting 6 more. Understanding that Judge is an everyday player, where Pujols is, designated hitter / pinch hitter. So Judge should
I
have
want
more
to
at bats.
say Aaron Judge getting 12 should not be out of the question. I think it's totally doable, but because I said that and it's a crazy league and 450th pitcher is not a number I can comprehend, it'll probably be Pujols.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking too. I mean, we've seen Judge hit home runs
Yeah.
in quantities not seen before. So if he gets on tear, I think it's pretty likely that he would get
Yeah.
it. But 6 is a lot more doable than 12, especially when you have a whole month left in the season. And I hope he gets it. He's one of those players that, I mean, is universally respected. Played the game right.
For
Obviously,
sure.
his Angel years could have gone better, but love the guy. Hope he gets it. So, moving on to NFL now.
I think so. Big news coming out of San Francisco. I actually think it's very big news. Yes, we're technically talking about a backup quarterback, but Jimmy G restructured to stay with the Niners. I think it was the number that's sticking in my mind. I think is 6.5 mil. That could be wrong. Guaranteed money.
Yeah, and then it could go up to 10, I think, based on
Right,
winning.
with incentives. But I think that's big for him and the Niners. Obviously, having that insurance policy behind Trey Lance is big. But I'm excited for Jimmy G because we were kind of unsure what was going to happen to him this year. Because I think we were all working under the assumption, okay, they've moved on, he's going to get released. All I'm saying is, if you're Jimmy G, you've restructured. Say Trey Lance struggles, and you come in and you're successful, which that's all you've ever actually been when you're healthy, is successful with this franchise. If you don't want to stay in San Francisco, he could come into some big money somewhere else. So I think it's a win-win for everybody. He's obviously an amazing backup. He could start. So anytime your backup could be a starter, that's a plus. But like I said, if Trey Lance isn't up to snuff, I mean, you throw Jimmy G in and you guys make another playoff run, they're going to have to make some decisions there, or he's going to have somebody else chomping at the bit to get him
Do you
at a
think
much easier contract to deal with.
Do you think this helps Trey Lance or hurts him in his development?
Because of the kind of person and player that Jimmy G is, I think it helps him. Um, from all indications, you've heard it nonstop over the last couple of years how great of a teammate he is, how quiet Jimmy G is. He's never going to ruffle feathers. I mean, he's been working out by himself this whole time.
Yep.
There's so many players in the league that put them in this situation. I'm talking like a Kyler Murray or somebody. That little temper tantrum would be off the charts. Jimmy G's the kind of guy, he's going to show up and he's going to help Trey Lance. He's going to want Trey Lance to do well. So I don't think it's like a knock on his confidence. They've already come out and said a long time ago, Trey Lance is our guy this year. I think he has that, the confidence of the team. But having somebody like him behind him where he can lean on him a little bit, I think is going to be pretty big.
Yeah.
But with that being said, Jimmy G's not going to be afraid to step in if, he's not carrying the torch, so to speak. So all in all, I think it's a good thing for both sides.
That would be my only concern with this extension, or not extension, rework contract, is now he's essentially on the slate for the whole season unless they find a trade partner throughout the season. I think this was kind of them playing chicken with Seattle. I really think Seattle was interested in bringing in Jimmy G, but obviously inside the division, they didn't want that to happen. So I think this was San Francisco saying, "Hey, like we want to keep you around, but we can't pay you 30 million, which is what he was due. If he got cut, sure he could control where he went, and Seattle would
His
probably
contract
call
would
him,
be
but at the same time, he probably wasn't going to get whatever they gave him in this reworked contract after everyone else has already filled
yeah.
their quarterback position. So I think it works best
And it's
for
a
both.
familiar offense.
Yep.
Yeah.
So the only thing, like I said, the only thing that would concern me is if Trey Lance, throws an interception and now he's, looking behind his back, trying to see if his coach is going to pull him and put in Jimmy. So I guess
I think the only thing that makes that not the case is because it's Jimmy G and everything you hear about him.
well,
And it's all you've ever heard about him. I think he'll be there in his corner.
and I think he will too, but that's not going to reassure Trey Lance. If he's not playing well, they won't make that move. I mean,
Yeah.
only he can keep that from being an issue with him, I guess. So
That's fair. That's fair.
and then what else you got NFL wise before we get to our teams?
Washington Commanders, their rookie running back, Brian Robinson, over this past week was carjacked and shot, which was absolutely terrible. Thankfully, he's stable, and like Coach Rivera went and seen him, which is great. They've actually kept him on the initial 53-man roster. And according to the coach, there's a possibility he'll still play this season. It's just a very sad situation. Rookie player coming in, playing out their dream, and some random act of violence, and he ends up getting shot in a carjacking.
Yeah.
It's pretty sad stuff. I wish him a quick recovery, and hopefully, he gets to continue his dream this season and get back on the field. But pretty crazy.
Yeah, and it sounded like he's doing as good as possible for that situation. So glad for that, and seems like the Commanders are doing the right thing by keeping him on that initial roster, and then now they could probably move him to the PUP list or whatever, so he still has insurance and all that, so he can recover from this and not worry about getting that paycheck. And like you said, hopefully he makes his return before the end of the season and can contribute and live out that dream. So hopeful for that. You would hate to see his entire rookie season lost due to something out of his control, but
yeah, it's horrible.
Just hoping for that speedy recovery for him. So, and then you got your Steelers. Anything surprising?
I think we're down to our teams. Honestly, no, I don't think anything was really out of the ordinary. We are holding on to all three quarterbacks right now. And I get it. I don't think it's a bad situation because he knows the offense, Mason Rudolph. He knows the offense. He's not that crazy of a contract. They are fielding, or I should say, they are receiving calls on him. Word on the street is that the Steelers are wanting a 4th-round grade or better for him because they're completely content keeping him on as an insurance policy in case one of the two, guys fighting for the top spot get injured. So we do have the 3. I was really excited. Anyone who's watched us on the preseason stuff, Jalen Warren, he's a kid that was undrafted, and he came in and he runs with a lot of pop. He's very small but very powerful, and I absolutely loved watching him run. And I was really, really hoping he'd make the team, and he's officially our RB3. So super pumped for him, and I think honestly he could uproot Benny Snell at the 2 spot, and then Benny will be kind of a 3rd down scat back type guy. But he's going to do a very good job spelling Harris, which is huge because Harris was kind of had a lot on his shoulders last year, which he still will this year. But it'll be nice being able to have Warren come in. We cut a few of our offensive linemen, which I guess if you want to say something was surprising, it would be that. But honestly, it's not like they were going to fix our problems. Most of them were, kind of your offensive line handyman that could play all four positions, or five if they could play center, but none of them were very great at any of them. Kind of tool guys, but I think a lot of those will probably come back after we have our IR designations. Our young safety who got hurt, he'll go on IR to start the season, and that'll open up some spots. And I think those guys will come back on. Moving into the season, though, it's more of the same. Offensive line is still our biggest issue. I'm really hoping that some of the players that got cut from other teams, hopefully we can find a diamond in the rough that comes in and for some reason excels, in our building. I just hope somebody brings something in. That's about all I have as far as actual play and roster, but I did have one little note I meant to talk about on the last pod. Obviously, my connection was giving me fits that day, but it was a really cool story. While they were still in training camp, Tomlin was on his way actually to the field and came across a group of kids fighting in the street, literally a group of them just fist fighting. And so he stopped the fight and talked to him a little bit, and he ended up bringing that entire group of kids to hang out with the team for the day. So that was kind of pretty cool, special thing. I mean, I'm a big fan of Mike Tomlin anyways, but I thought it was a cool way of handling that situation as opposed to, how the other ways that you could handle it. I'm sure he made those kids' day. I don't know, just something different, something special.
Yeah.
But I think that's all I got for the Steelers.
Okay. Yeah, so Raiders, their initial 53.
Speaking of players, he's coming to the Steelers.
Couple surprises that I saw. Obviously, we've been talking about Alex Leatherwood for quite a while. He's had terrible off-season training camp. All the preseason games he's played in, he struggled even against second and third stringers. Today, Raiders made the surprise decision to outright release him. So he is subject to waivers. So he may be claimed. I think the more likely scenario is he clears waivers and then signs with the team. Yeah. I'm horribly shocked by this. Like, I've talked about how bad he has been, but the salary cap hit alone, he's carrying almost $8 million this season and then another 3+ next season just by cutting him today. So it surprises me that they weren't at least willing to kick him into guard and give him some reps there and see how he does, especially with some of the injuries we have on the offensive line right now. But outright releasing him tears into that salary cap we had open for possibly adding someone, the Darren Waller extension. So that part scares me. It seems like giving up way too early on a first-round draft pick from last season, and I don't like that.
And that's usually the case. That's the first thing I thought of as well. That I can't believe they weren't bumping him somewhere else.
Yeah, because he played competently at guard last season.
Right.
I mean, he wasn't
the best. Maybe he becomes a good guard.
Yeah, he's going to be a good player for someone. I mean, the Raiders drafted him well above where everyone else had him being drafted, but that doesn't stop the fact being that everyone had a round 2 grade on him. He's a round 2 grade for a reason. He has the tools. I think the biggest thing for him was confidence, and playing on the wrong side of the line. Essentially, he was left tackle, left guard for Alabama. Switching to the right side, we've talked about it before. That doesn't work for everyone. So that was my main big surprise. There was also, they made a move to trade Trayvon Mullen, which was one of our starting cornerbacks from last year.
They traded to ask you about that.
Yeah, to Arizona for a conditional 7th round pick. If he plays, then it'll be a 6th, but getting that for our 2nd round pick back in, I believe it was 2018, not a great value. So I just wanted to go over some of the Raiders draft picks, and I'll just go first round in the last since 2019, and that was when Mayock and Gruden were calling the picks there. So Jonathan Abram, fifth-year option was declined. Josh Jacobs, fifth-year option was declined. Cleveland Farrell, fifth-year option was declined. That was all in 2019. 2020, we had 2 first-round picks. Damon Arnett was one, and Henry Ruggs was the other. Both of those guys have had, legal issues. Obviously, the tragedy with Henry Ruggs. So those weren't necessarily because they couldn't play. I mean, Damon Arnett struggled, but he also was flashing guns, calling people out, saying he was going to kill him on social media. So that's why he got cut. And then now 2021 first round pick Alex Leatherwood cut after one season. So this isn't the worst first round pick ever. I mean, even back in 2020, the Titans selected Isaiah Wilson, I believe his name was. He played 3 snaps.
They cut him too, didn't they?
Yeah, he played 3 snaps for them on offense and 1 on special teams, and was cut after one season. So there's been quite a few out there that just didn't work out for whether it's their work ethic or whatever. Alex Leatherwood, by all accounts, wasn't work ethic. He was always willing to put in the work. He was doing what he needed to do. It just didn't work in Oakland, or I guess Vegas. So I'm hopeful he catches on somewhere and turns around his career, because I think the tools are there. I think the want to is there. It's just wasn't a good match for him.
Pittsburgh.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised to see you guys pick him up. I mean, you guys need help on that offensive line, and you can put him where he needs to be, not where you're trying to force him to fit. So
for sure.
Talked about Trayvon Mullen, and then just a couple of surprises I had. Britton Brown made the initial 53 at running back. I think they were scared that if they cut him and tried to get him on the practice squad, he was going to get claimed. He had such a good preseason that I think that was probably likely. So they're carrying 6 running backs for right now, including the fullback, Jacob Johnson. They're only carrying 5 receivers, but the one that they cut was Keelan Cole. That kind of surprised me, and they did keep DJ Turner, which I'm super pumped about. That keeps Hunter Renfrow from taking punts. So as long as DJ Turner's healthy, he's going to contribute on offense, and he's going to contribute on special teams. So that's good. They cut. Who did they cut? Bauer.
Drake.
They cut Ken Drake, and he signed with
Ravens.
Baltimore today.
Well, he did sign? I saw he was trying out.
Yeah, no, he signed. So reinforcements for them. But tight ends, they cut one of, now I can't remember his name. He was one of our tight ends last year, and they went with Jesper Horsted instead. Foster Moreau and Darren Waller are all tight ends there. They only went with 8 linemen, so I think it's going to be likely that Mumford probably goes to the IR, the revocable IR, and they bring back someone. But they did put Brandon Parker on season-ending IR finally. Tashawn Bauer, he was an absolute stud all preseason on the defensive line, so I'm happy to see he made the team. And then they kept both Darian Butler and Luke Masterson at linebacker, that both played out of their minds. So, and then one surprising roster make was Isaiah Polo Mao. I didn't really see him play much, so him being one of 5 safeties that they kept when it was thought they would only keep 4, that was a surprise. And then cornerbacks, no real surprises there other than they kept Amik Robertson. I think everyone thought he was going to be cut, but that was prior to the Trayvon Mullen move. So we'll see. I think he's still going to be one of those cut when they make some claims on other players, but we shall see. So no other real surprises there. And I'm ready for the season to start, honestly. I think the Raiders are going to have a great season. The unknowns for me are obviously taking that hit with Alex Leatherwood and then trading Trayvon Mullen. It tells me they're pretty set on Rock Ya-Sin, Anthony Averett, and Nate Hobbs. It seems like that's the 3 in the mix, and then they kept Sam Webb on there. So we'll see. I'm fired up.
I am too, and this time of year is always fun too, because I mean, the sad side that a lot of these players' dreams are coming to an end.
Yep.
The other side of it, though, is too there is a lot of talent that also got cut because all it takes is a team to be really rich at one position. I mean, not this may not be the best example, but like one cut that surprised me was the Chiefs letting Josh Gordon go. I realized that he's never really taken off, but their wide receiver room has, I'm not saying gotten vastly better, but it's gotten bigger. Rather than Tyreek being the focus of that group, now they have a lot of very serviceable wide receivers. And then with Sky Moore coming in, obviously, I think that bumped him out the door. But there's going to be a lot of talent out there. There's some really good running backs that are, some running back 2s and 3s that are going to be available. Wide receivers, there's always somebody that gets picked up this time of year and ends up making a splash.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, for us, I'm really hoping we do the same thing with linemen. I would gladly let Alex Leatherwood come over, and whether he can rotate at left tackle, left guard, I'll put him anywhere that we need a spot because our line has been suspect at best. So I guess that's all I just want to say is it's a fun time of year because while some, yes, their career, so to speak, is over, but there's a lot of these guys that are still going to get picked up, make practice squads. It doesn't mean it's completely over, I guess. There's still some of these guys that are going to get picked up.
Well, and I think we should probably mention a couple of the surprise cuts from around the league too, and that's I'll just go through a couple of them real quick, and that's Dolphins release Sony Michel, former first-round pick by the Patriots.
He was a huge part of that Rams Super Bowl run last year.
Yep.
That running back room was beat up, and so all those guys really contributed. I was really surprised. I do think someone will pick him up.
Yep. And then the Jags traded Shenault, the wide receiver, their second-round pick, to the Panthers, so some help going that way. And then Tony Jefferson got cut by the Ravens. That was surprising.
Yeah.
Wouldn't hate to see him in silver and black.
It'd probably be a good pickup for you guys.
OJ Howard.
Who's the safety in New Orleans? I saw he got traded.
Yeah, I'll get to that in just a second. I had it pulled up, but
I didn't realize you had a list.
Yeah, I've got a little list going here. And then, the Bills released OJ Howard. He was the Bucs tight end for quite a while. You already mentioned Josh Gordon. Phillip Lindsay got released. Duke Johnson got released. Kellen Mond got released from the Vikings after they traded for Nick Mullins. So sounds like Raiders are getting that 7th-round pick after all. Josh Rosen got cut. And then, you were talking about Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. He got traded to the Eagles from
I was really surprised.
So, that kid's a stud.
He played well for him.
And that was it. I mean, they weren't going to be able to re-sign him at a number that made sense for them. They have quite a bit of talent in that backfield, so they figured they'd take the opportunity to get rid of him at his high point and get some picks back in return. So, and then one sad note I have is Oakland legend Josh Johnson got released by the Broncos, even though he had a great preseason for them. So, dude's played for I think half the NFL at this point, but he's a stud.
Yeah, there's some of those guys that and good for them. It's some people laugh at it, but really, I always use Fitzpatrick as the shining example, but Ryan Fitzpatrick played for half the league and made so much money. That dude, I don't think anybody's played for what he had to play, the money that he made. I don't think anybody's done better than him.
No, he's
so I like when guys are able to string their career along, and sometimes you're not a fit somewhere and you move on, and a career is a career.
He leveraged the AAF, that league that shut down after like 6 weeks.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he leveraged a job with that and turned it into an NFL job as a backup. So He even started a couple games for, was it Washington last year or
I think it
2
was
years
them.
ago?
Yeah.
Yeah. So shout out to Josh. Hopefully he catches on somewhere again. But
Oh yeah,
yeah,
he will.
I mean, there's plenty more. There's JJ Arcega Whiteside. Fulgham got released. There was all kinds of releases today. But like you said, a lot of these guys are going to be making practice squads. A lot of them are going to be returning to the team that released them. Any guys that
Right,
have
it's
more
all
than
part of the
4
plan.
years of service time, they aren't subject to waivers. So as soon as they put someone on our IR, they'll bring them right back. A lot of the teams did that with like kickers and whatnot, knowing that they won't have waiver claims put on them or punters, and then once they designate someone from IR, then they'll bring them back and boom, you got a kicker again. So, all right, that's all I had NFL wise. Anything else you have?
I just have one little nugget. I alluded to it earlier. Hockey season's coming back here. I guess preseason end of September. So I'm super excited. Obviously, I love this time of year. But some Penguins news. It's really not that surprising. Mike Sullivan, our head coach, who is an absolute stud. Obviously, he's brought us some cups, and I love the man. But we extended him for 3 years, so now he's with us through the 27 season. So, I mean, we resist change there in Pittsburgh. We've had the same boys leading us, and same with the coach. So, I'm happy to keep him around, and I'm super pumped that they extended him.
That's pretty unusual in hockey. It seems like most hockey coaches are there for a cup of coffee or two, and then
Yeah, that happens a lot. Unless you're consistent, which our team has been for a long time. That is the case. I mean, it's 2, 3, maybe 4 seasons, and then they bring somebody else in and try to reboot it. And
yep.
It's pretty special. We're very spoiled in Pittsburgh with the Penguins. So Mike Sullivan also, he's the only American-born coach to ever win multiple Stanley Cups. He's now the winningest coach in our history. So, I mean, the man's doing a lot right. So I'm super pumped for him, and I'm super pumped for all of Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Oh, and I guess all I got.
One last note I had, and I should have mentioned this with Major League Baseball, but the minor leagues are looking to be consolidated under the MLBPA, so they would be represented by their union, which obviously the minor league players have been in some pretty rough conditions over the last, 100 years.
Second-class citizens, man.
Yeah, so getting some representation that's looking out for their interests probably angers the owners, but I think at the end of the day, it's good for the players, and hopefully, they obviously had the settlement for the unfair labor practices or whatever, but hopefully this continues that momentum, and these guys get some better working conditions where they're actually getting paid during the off season, where they're forced to train and all that stuff, but can't get other jobs because they have to be ready to play baseball. So just end on that positive note there, and then as we said, keep an eye out. We got the live draft coming up on Labor Day.
Excited.
And then
3:00.
I think probably Wednesday night we'll have to record again to get our season predictions in before the start of the NFL season. So we should have a couple coming your way. Keep an eye out for those. And as always, subscribe, share, like, all that stuff. Get some comments in, feedback. If you want to be involved in one of our episodes, if you want to come on and talk to us, we'd love to have you guys on. It's always great to catch up with friends and talk about the teams that you love. Still got some openings for NFL divisions, so keep that in mind too if any of you are interested. So thank you for tuning in, and as always, we appreciate the support.